Hello and welcome. My name is Alan and we are back with more notable names in Pacific Islander and Asian American history. Before we get into the video, I do want to go ahead and let you know I have two ways to donate to the channel. I have a Patreon account, which is a monthly donation system, and then also have a Ko-fi account, which can do the same, but also can do single one-time donations. So that is another option. Do not donate if you are financially struggling. I know most people may hear that and think it's common sense, but sometimes people have too big of hearts, and yeah. I'd rather you take care of what you need to take care of. I do not need you putting yourself in further trouble financially just to try to help me out. If you can afford it and you want to, thank you. I do appreciate it. Because like I've said, it's me, myself, and I that do the videos. I'm the only one here. I don't have a team like a lot of places. I don't get funding from commercials or anything like that. It's me, myself, and I. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Today, we are looking at Duke Kahanamoku. I know I'm probably butchering that. As you can tell, Pacific Islander name because he's originally from Hawaii. Kahanamoku. If I go slow, I can say it a lot easier, but I know I'm probably sounding really ridiculous to native speakers. So, yeah. Swimmer and surfer, broke several barriers in the world of water sports, and in 1911 broke the world record in the 100-yard freestyle at an amateur swim meet in Honolulu, finishing in 55.4 seconds. Proved himself a powerful swimmer when he went on to compete in the 1912 Antwerp Olympics, winning his first gold medal in the 100-meter freestyle and a silver medal in the 4x200 meter freestyle relay. He made history at the 1920 Olympics, becoming the first swimmer to win the 100-meter race twice in a row. So up to that point, yeah, is usually one-time wins. Commonly referred to as the Duke, he was a 5-time Olympic medalist who helped popularize surfing, performing demonstrations in the mainland United States and Australia, and was one of the first non-white athletes to gain significant fame in sports, helping pave the way for others, who would pass away in 1968 at the age of 77. But yeah, Duke Kahanamoku. That was per biography. Let's hop over here to Smithsonian Institute. Yep. Not just swimming, but surfing legend as well. He helped transform the Hawaiian pastime of surfing into a worldwide competitive sport. Being born August the 12th or 24th in 1890 and living until January the 22nd, 1968. He was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, and made headlines as a record-breaking swimmer who introduced the flutter kick to the sport, After winning gold medals at the 1912 and 1920 Olympics, he was arguably the best swimmer of his era and described by the press as a human fish. So quite literally, Michael Phelps before there was a Michael Phelps. In 1912, he introduced surfing to California, and 2 years later awed crowds in Australia with his board skills. He would develop his own line of surf clothing and experimented with smaller, lighter boards like the one in the early photograph there. Yeah. Because early surfing, the boards were huge. They were long. In 1925, his legend was secured, and he won praise around the world when he helped rescue passengers from a sinking boat off the Southern California coast. He and his surfer friends pulled 12 survivors to safety using their surfboards, though unfortunately 5 would drown. The police chief of Newport, California, said at the time, Kahanamoku's performance was the most superhuman rescue act and the finest display of surfboard riding that has ever been seen in the world. Many more would have drowned but for the quick work of the Hawaiian swimmer. There are statues of Kahanamoku on Honolulu's Waikiki Beach and in Huntington Beach, California. The image in the collection of the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery is they talk about, so yeah. Like we said, we saw the image. But yeah, quite literally changed swimming, surfing. From Britannica. Born August 26, 1890. That's a different date because they have August 24th. So somewhere in late August near Waikiki, Hawaii, now in the United States. Remember, Hawaii doesn't become a U.S. state until 1959, I think. He would die January 22nd, 1968 in Honolulu. But yeah, born Honolulu, Hawaii, was a Hawaiian surfer and swimmer who won 3 Olympic gold medals for the United States and was for several years considered the greatest freestyle swimmer in the world. He was perhaps most widely known for developing the flutter kick, which largely replaced the scissors kick. So your feet going like this instead of trying to do wide motions. Kahanamoku was set 3 universally recognized world records in the 100-yard freestyle between July 5th, 1913 and September 5th, 1917, 53 seconds, broken by Johnny Weissmuller in 1922. In the 100-yard freestyle, Kahanamoku was the U.S. indoor champion in 1913 and outdoor title holder in 1916 to 1917 and 1920. At the Olympic Games in Stockholm in 1912, Antwerp was 20. Okay. He won the 100-meter freestyle event and then repeated the same triumph at the 1920 Olympics in Antwerp, Belgium, where he was also a member of the victorious U.S. team in the 800-meter relay race. And remember, relay race, 4 swimmers, they have a set amount to swim. In this case, if the entire race is 800 meter, each swimmer does 200. So yeah. Kahanamoku also excelled at surfing and became viewed as one of the icons of the sport. Intermittently between the mid-1920s, he was a motion picture actor, and from 1932 to 1961, he was sheriff of the city and county of Honolulu in Hawaii. He served in the salaried office of official greeter of famous personages for the state of Hawaii from 61 until his death. So yeah. Truly one of the predecessors that changed the sports of swimming and surfing in what was then only I think Hawaii was only a territory at that point, because I know it doesn't come a state until 59, I believe, is the year it turned into an actual state. Because 1959, you have the last 2 states enter the Union, Hawaii and Alaska. But yeah. There it is. Wikipedia, there's an image of him with one of his surfing boards. Full name was Duke Paoa Kahinu Mokoe Hulikahola Kahanamoku. Let's see. He was in surfing, but he was also a swimmer. Medal records: gold medals in 1912 for the 100-meter freestyle, and gold medal in 1920 for the 100-meter freestyle. Gold medal in 1920 for the 4x200 meter freestyle relay, in which he got a silver in 1912, and was also in 1924 Paris Olympics, in which he won a silver medal for the 100-meter freestyle. 100-mile, woo, 100-meter. But yeah. Lived to see the territory's admission as a state. So yeah, Hawaii at that point was still a territory. Born 3 years before the overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom. Yeah. It's egotistical greed that they were a bunch of greedy rich that were like, hey, let's take these islands, we like them. And it overthrows a whole kingdom in Hawaii. As tends to be the case with much of the territorial aggression, it's usually the wealthy, the self-centered, or warmongering that we take territory. Most normal people are like, I just want to be able to live a decent life. But there's always greedy jackasses. Anyway. 5-time Olympic medalist. Joined the fraternal organizations, becoming a Scottish Rite Freemason for the Honolulu Lodge, and a Shriner. He worked as a law enforcement officer, an actor, beach volleyball player, and a businessman. Born in Honolulu at Haleakala, the home of Bernice Pauahi Bishop, which was later converted into the Arlington Hotel. Born into a family of native Hawaiians, headed by Duke Halapu Kahanamoku and Julia Pa'akonia Lono Kahikina Pa'oa. He had 5 brothers, 3 sisters. Duke was not a title or a nickname, but a given name. His name was actually Duke. It wasn't like when people called John Wayne the Duke. No, his name was Duke. Being named after his father, Duke Halapu Kahanamoku, who was, named after Prince Alfred, Duke of Edinburgh. So yeah, interesting. Mother was deeply religious with a strong sense of family ancestry, which is not unusual. Pacific Islanders, and in this case Hawaii, there's a lot to deal with family, and there's a word I'm sure some of you know if you've watched Lilo and Stitch: ohana, families. They were from prominent Hawaiian families, though they were considered to be lower-ranking nobles in the service of the Alii Nui, or royalty. His paternal grandfather and his grandmother his eternal grandfather was Kahanamoku, and his grandmother Kapiolani Kaueha they were kahu, also known as retainers and trusted advisors for the Kamehamehas, to whom they were related. And you may be aware of the word Kamehameha. There was a King Kamehameha. Let's see. 1893, his family moved to Kalia, Waikiki, to be closer with his mother's parents and family. Grew up with his siblings, so remember, 8 siblings. He had 31 cousins, Pa'oa cousins, so that's just on his mother's side, so yeah. Preferred the traditional surfboard, which was constructed after the fashion of the ancient Hawaiian olo boards, which was 16 feet long and weighed 114 pounds. The board was without a skeg, which had to be invented. So a sternward extension of the keel. In his later career, though, he would often use smaller boards, but always preferred those made of wood. And it was at this point he was learning also how to swim, because when you are right next to the ocean, you're going to learn how to swim. You'll probably learn how to swim very well. There's one of the, like I was talking, one of the long boards. His time in the Olympics. Post-Olympic career. Traveling internationally to give swimming exhibitions. Surfing expedition in Sydney, Australia's freshwater beach. He actually does have a local hardware store that is actually retained by the Freshwater Surf Life-Saving Club in Australia, in New South Wales. He lived in Southern California for a while. Newport Beach. First person to be inducted into the Swimming Hall of Fame and the Surfing Hall of Fame. He would have an invitational surfing championship named after him. Member of the U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame. Would serve as sheriff of Honolulu, Hawaii from 1935 to 1961. Served as a military police officer during World War II. Even though at this point Hawaii was just a territory, not a state, he still served on behalf of the United States. Puerto Rico, man. Poor Puerto Rico. Over 100 years now, we've had it as a freaking territory. At this point, make it and the U.S. Virgin Islands together one state. There's no more excuse at this point. They're right there off the coast of Florida. A lot closer than Hawaii ever was. It should be a state. Instead of having dumbass Donnie throwing paper towel rolls after a hurricane. Anyway. This time surfing. August 2nd, 1940, he married dance instructor Nadine Alexander and relocated to Hawaii from Cleveland, Ohio. So clearly he'd been living in quite a number of places throughout the U.S. Talked about him living in California. He apparently lived in Cleveland, Ohio. He was from Honolulu, Hawaii. So yeah. Uh, he was 50, she was 35. Most people may go 15 years, but it wasn't all that unusual at that period in time. Uh, yeah. Not saying it is or isn't right. It's just, it wasn't all that unusual. As we mentioned, he would be a Scottish Masonic Lodge member and a member of the Shriners. Was a Republican back when Republicans weren't complete and utter jackasses. Died of a heart attack on January 22nd, 1968 at the age of 77. Burial at sea. A group of Beach Boys sang Hawaiian songs including Aloha as his ashes were scattered into the ocean. And he's got a number of statues and monuments around the world. As we've talked about, impacts in the US, Australia, New Zealand. There have been competitions named after him in the fields of swimming and surfing. So the Duke Kahanamoku Aquatic Complex at the University of Hawaii swimming and diving and women's water serves as the home for its swimming and diving and women's water polo teams. So yeah, aquatic complex at the University of Hawaii named after him. So we talked about him being in films. He was in Adventure, The Pony Express, No Father to Guide Him, Lord Jim, Ode Ironsides, Hula, Light, Isle of Sunken Gold, Woman Wise, The Rescue, Where East is East, Girl of the Port, Isle of Escape, Around the World with Douglas Fairbanks, The Black Camel, Wake of the Red Witch, Mr. Roberts, This Is Your Life, and Free and Easy and Safari. And the last three he's just played himself because, yeah, like I said, 59, Hawaii becomes a state. So I'm sure there was a lot of interest in Hawaiian culture and everything at that point. But yeah, Duke Kahanamoku. With that, we'll go ahead and end this episode there. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources, and it can't just be a bunch of tinfoil hat wearing sources or anecdotes slapped together to try to make sources. I'll be putting my links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.